Now, speaking of failed states, we just had the election down in Mexico, and we are going to get to the Supreme Court, but we just wanted to mention to folks, if you didn't catch it, because there's so much going on right now, that there was actually an election in Mexico yesterday, and Mexico elected what they're calling its first left-wing president, but I think that's probably being a little bit generous with the idea of being first. But anyway, Andres Manuel Lopez, and he goes by Amlo, won with 49% of the vote. Now, what I wanted to point out about Mexico is that Mexico is a failed state. For all those people running around waving Mexican flags and all that, you're waving the flag of a state that cannot even protect its own citizens. It cannot provide the most basic thing that a government does, which is protection of the citizenry, both through national defense and through law enforcement police powers. The Mexican state can't do that. In fact, they can't even protect their political candidates. Do you know that during this election, over 130 political candidates were assassinated? Can you even imagine? Can you imagine if that was going on here? 130 candidates assassinated?
I was shocked by that. Right, 500 plus people were harmed or
because
that were just related to them.
Because Mexico is a failed state. They do not have an operating government that can protect the people. They can't even protect the ones that are on TV, the politicians and stuff that people might look to. Now, imagine if they can't protect the politicians, imagine about some poor people in some village somewhere and nobody even knows their name. You're never even going to hear about them when they get rounded up by the cartel and beheaded. We might hear the news story that 50 heads were dumped in the town square on Friday, and we've heard that, half a dozen times since we've been on the air. Over 3 years, this happens all the time down there. Widespread murders and violence. And if the government cannot maintain order, and understand the Mexican government essentially only operates inside of Mexico City, that's it. They control that city, and that's it. The rest of the country is wildlands. You tell me, is that a state whose flag is worth flying around and being proud of? Or is that a failed state? We got so many people wanting to turn the American flag upside down and put the Mexican flag up above it. But you know what? We have a state that works, and it's done a lot of good all over the world for many years. And Mexico is a failed state. So,
who wants to go to Cancun?
Well, point is, do you want us to turn into a failed state? And I think when you're talking about the commies, the answer is obviously yes. They obviously want to bring down the U.S.